What's up everyone, this is Oslin dropping in with another boss guide for Lord Incendius on normal and heroic difficulty. This is the third boss of the Blackrock Depths time-walking raid, and oh boy is he a party animal. If you're one of the many players struggling with this encounter, this fight is essentially a DPS check wrought with movement mechanics intended to negate your damage uptime. Before we get started, just remember to tap that like and subscribe button to stay in the loop on future content and help us grow the channel. And feel free to share this guide on your Discord channels if you think others might benefit from it. So let's break down this encounter. When the battle begins, magma is going to cover the bridge one section at a time. These fire sections are not randomly placed. In fact, they have a short rhythm that will always start on the side closest to Incendius. The second spawn point will be in zones 2 and 3, followed by zone 2, followed by zones 1 and 3, followed by zone 3, then back to zone 1. This process will repeat indefinitely. Familiarizing yourself with this rhythm will help ensure that you take out the elementals on the respective zone and soak the geyser before the floor is covered in magma. These elementals will spawn randomly, but understanding their rhythm will help you in understanding their priority. The elementals are going to be your utmost priority when they spawn, and you'll notice that certain elementals spawn between transition points of zones that are safe and zones that are filled with magma. For melee, you can utilize these transition points to minimize the amount of damage you're taking from magma. The magma itself doesn't inflict a large amount of damage. For ranged DPS, you can avoid the magma entirely by simply adjusting as the zones shift. Tanks are going to want to drag the boss over to the prioritized elemental while ensuring the raid CCs or maintains steady interrupts on the other elementals until it comes time to focus them down. Obviously, if they're CC'd, don't touch them. You may also be faced with circumstances where the elemental is crunched up against the far wall inside an active magma zone. If you've got good group healing and the rhythmatic approach isn't working, you can also try the YOLO approach, having melee just rush in and focus down the elemental quickly. Otherwise, if healing is a problem, let ranged handle it. Melee will maintain their focus on Incendius and then switch when the magma disperses. Again, these strategies are aimed to give you ideas depending on your composition. If you leave the elementals to act freely, they will inflict raid-wide damage with Blaze. You cannot bring the elementals to you. Each time an elemental successfully casts Blaze, it'll inflict 1 million damage to the raid, and additional casts will be sped up by 15%. When an elemental is defeated, it's going to cast Dying Flare. This will inflict 16.3 million damage to all players, reduced by the number of players who soak the mechanic. In this example, we had the entire raid soaking the flare, minus the healers. Sometimes these flares will spawn in safe zones, while other times they'll spawn engulfed partially or fully by magma. Regardless, you need to soak the flare or players will die. If it's in a magma zone, you can mitigate the damage by watching the cast bar from a safe zone, then moving into soak just before it goes off. You'll want to save your defensives for these scenarios as they're bound to happen during the encounter. The tank swap here is going to be blowback. Incendius will mark an area of the bridge with a swirling flame, then teleport to it. This will deal moderate raid-wide fire damage to all players as he attempts to push them off the bridge. At the same time, the entire raid is still going to be dodging magma zones and soaking geysers. The active tank will have this forceful push and damage amplified, inevitably pushing him off the edge if the other tank doesn't taunt swap. The two tanks will need to juggle this mechanic for the full 20-second duration. Players in the raid can also utilize movement enhancing or manipulation abilities to help their teammates out. On heroic difficulty, this encounter will get more difficult as additional elementals will spawn each time. Lastly, healers will want to maintain focus on players with consumptive flames. This will target 2 players with moderate fire damage every second for 12 seconds. Just be aware that these players will be taking more damage than other raid members. And that's the encounter for Lord Incendius. Let me know if you found this guide helpful in the comments below. Until next time.